Part 29. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 281. Chapter 281 I can hurt him, but you can't. Yes, Zio has been studying and taking exams recently and has no time to go to Kyoan. Goosey I secretly thought that after the shooting that day, she went back home to change clothes. Zio was not at home. She did not ask where she went. When she came back from the world for the second time, Zio was already reviewing. Kyoan, why do you want to assassinate me? Lu Ziwen asked with raised eyebrows. He thought for a while, be more rigorous, why do you want to assassinate the third master? After all, we are one person with two souls. If he dies, I will be gone too. I don't know. Gu Zi's expression didn't change when he met someone. He was also a big boss in his last life. Disguise and forbearance were his special skills. In addition, he did look harmless, so he seemed to be able to win the trust of others. Wait a minute. I'll ask the old man after I finish the exam. That's not necessary, Lu Ziwen said with a chuckle, the third master will check it out. Gu Zio held the bowl and took a sip of the soup, almost burying his face in the bowl. After a moment, Gu Zio said, Chen Fei is very good at assassination and tracking, and it is difficult to dodge the first shot of a sniper. How did you escape? Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows, what a filial son. You still want me to be shot in the head? That's not true, Gu Zio was nervous. Oh my God, my father is so scheming. My mother heard it from the sidelines. Wouldn't it explode? He actually touched her dearest sweetheart. Mom's logic is, I can hurt him, but you can't. What I mean is that Chen Fei's shots hit every target and you are still alive, which means that Kyoan may not want your life. Someone fired first and hit Pei Chuying. My guard team was very alert, so we escaped. Lu Ziwen deliberately made the situation serious, as long as Li Zhang is slow to react for 3 seconds, I will be killed. One shot to the head. Wait, can't he teleport? Gu Zio relied on this to let Chen Fei assassinate him. Anyway, he could fly, teleport, and had superpowers to be killed with one shot. Then isn't it funny? Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, he has just recovered from his serious injury and cannot teleport. Gu Zio. Gu Zio just found out that the third master was seriously injured and couldn't teleport. He thought to himself that this was too dangerous. If he couldn't teleport, his reaction would be too slow. Wouldn't he become the first person to kill his father? Gu Zio felt inexplicable guilt. Although his father was safe now, there were still sequelae. Gu Zio said sadly, when you are old, I will take care of you. Lu Ziwen. Gu Ci choked on the poached egg and coughed like crazy. Son, there's no need for you to think too far. His sternum is unlikely to have any terrible sequelae. Since Chen Fei shot me, why did he also shoot the killer on the opposite side? Lu Ziwen asked leisurely. Gu Ci's heart skipped a beat and she couldn't continue this topic. Third brother, you've always been indifferent to third master's affairs. Why did you suddenly become so enthusiastic? If he dies, can I live? Lu Ziwen's character design is very precise. This disaster will die if you die. Don't involve me. Gu Ci had to admit that the third master's acting skills were good. Sometimes she couldn't tell whether it was him or the third young master. But when she played the third young master, she was very lost. She always looks for the shadow of the third master in him. She knows that he is like a man who is looking for plum blossoms to quench his thirst and is in despair, but she still dares not reveal any true emotions for fear of being noticed by the third master. This breakfast was so thrilling that Gu Zio fell into the guilty conscience of patricide. He also had to be baptized by Gu Ci's eyes. Because Chen Fei didn't know that Gu Ci and Qin Wan were opposite him, Chen Fei also fired a shot. Gu Zio thought numbly, if Chen Fei could always hit the mark, he would rely on his strength to make himself an orphan. Fortunately, before Chen Fei set off, he repeatedly warned him not to kill anyone, so Chen Fei hit the glass. In addition, without an order, Chen Fei would not kill people indiscriminately. He hit the glass just to divert attention. After Lu Ziwen accompanied Gu Xi to the study, Gu Xi returned to his room and called Chen Liangdong. "Our Qiuan's assassination system is not perfect enough." Chen Fei was photographed. "Lu Ziwen just asked me at home why Qiuan wanted to kill him." "Chen Liangdong, you didn't admit it, did you?" "I blame it all on you and refuse to admit it." Chen Liangdong chuckled, "Will this cause any estrangement between you?" "It doesn't matter, blood is thicker than water, but the career direction is different, and there must be a limit. The assassination system of the Yakuza is perfect. There are people who handle monitoring and there are people who take care of it. We should learn more. This is also to protect their snipers. After all, snipers are really rare talents. It takes many years to train a qualified sniper. Chen Fei is the ace in their system. This needs to be improved." Chen Liangdong said, "National security is mainly responsible for intelligence collection and analysis. Large-scale operations require the cooperation of operational departments. This time it was quite unexpected. Chen Fei was dispatched. This is not what we are good at, and it is very difficult to be photographed. It's normal, learn your lesson. We need a sharp knife of our own. I will write a written report based on the assassination of the Yakuza this time. I will correct some cases and encourage others. I have almost figured out their actions." Gu Xi relied on the surveillance camera. And Qin Wan's action route can simulate how the Yakuza handles assassinations. They are very protective of snipers. So they will cover Qin Wan's evacuation as soon as possible. This is a special date. After Gu Xi took the exam, he was basically free. All his thoughts were on the dark web. Today, he was supposed to discuss rescuing Zhang Junlin with Dr. North. But when Lu Ziwen came, Gu Xi postponed the plan. Finally, when dating at home, Gu Xi was relatively unfamiliar, and Lu Ziwen was even more unfamiliar. Gu Xi took him to a movie theater to watch a movie. The last time she and Lu Ziwen were mobbed by fans while watching a movie, Gu Xi built a movie theater specifically for them. Although the screen is not as big as a movie theater, it is not small either, it covers the entire wall. "Did your sternum really suffer from sequelae, or was it a scam? You lied to him, this brat actually sent someone to kill me." Gu Xi opened her mouth and said with a chuckle, "He is really taking exams recently. Maybe it was Chen Liangdong's idea. Do you believe it?" "Believe it?" Gu Xi's filter was darker, "I believe everything he says." "You don't believe anything I say." Gu Xi couldn't refute. Lu Ziwen snorted coldly. He had been very stable in portraying the third young master recently. Gu Xi also found it amazing. At the beginning, when he played the third young master, his acting skills really went up and down, but recently she was confused by the fake things, and sometimes she felt that the third young master was back. Gu Xi looked at him steadily, but Lu Ziwen didn't like this look very much. He felt that her eyes seemed to be looking at someone else. He asked, "What's wrong?" End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 282. Chapter 282. I want to kiss you. I want to kiss you. Gu Xi stood up, sat on his lap, leaned over to kiss him, and touched his ears with one hand. This was the third master's sensitive area. He liked to kiss Gu Xi's ears. At the same time, his ears were also extremely sensitive, and Gu Xi could turn red and bleed just by touching them. In the dark theater, the temperature was rising inch by inch. Gu Xi closed her eyes, her heart aching. She pressed harder and kissed Lu Ziwen's chin, feeling like ice and fire. Lu Ziwen trembled all over, his Adam's apple rolled, Goosey Eye bit it gently, "Third brother, you are so sensitive." San yet. He held her in his arms and kissed her crazily. He had no idea what the movie was playing. Goosey Eye had already forgotten it, and her hand touched his belt irregularly. Lu Ziwen forced himself and pushed her away. If it continued, Gan Chai Luo would be unable to control it. "Don't you want it? You." The third master's voice was hoarse and soft, "You are only 18 years old. I'm an adult. What should I do if I'm pregnant?" Goosey Eye. "Don't you know that there is a thing in this world called a condom?" Lu Ziwen was suffering a lot. Pregnancy was his temporary excuse. He felt like he was being roasted on the fire and it was his own fault. He promised the third young master that he would not hurt Goosey Eye. When he woke up and saw the look in Goosey's eyes, he knew Goosey Eye was so sad, so he just kept on acting. At that moment, he didn't think too much. He just wanted to go with the flow. When Goosey's mood stabilized, he would tell her that the third young master would not be able to come back for the time being. But Li Zhang also told him that after his accident, Goosey's energy and blood had changed. The situation was very bad, so he had no choice but to continue acting. He told himself that he would only act for a week, and when Goosey Eye felt better, he would tell Goosey Eye the truth. But a week later, Goosey's condition did not improve. She would wake up even if she slept next to him. During that time, she always slept next to him, holding his hand and crying and calling Lu Ziwen and third brother. Lu Ziwen was heartbroken. Unable to bear it, he told himself that he would tell Goosey Eye the truth after a month. But having been together for so long, Goosey Eye was already special to him. He watched Goosey Eye and San Xiao fall in love, and they were so intimate. This girl held more weight in his heart than anyone else. Once something happened to her, he would always be confused. Sensing it, he could quickly reach her. But she belongs to the third young master. The third young master warned him not to get close to Goosey Eye, so he restrained his liking, limited it to liking, and isolated her from his heart. But during this period, he was trapped in a cocoon, and Goosey Eye broke through this barrier and walked into his heart. The truth gradually became unspeakable. He was in pain, he was suffering, he was nostalgic, he was sinking, he wanted to possess her, but he also knew clearly that he should take advantage of others' danger and should not do anything. Goosey Eye looked for the shadow of the third young master in him, and the look in his eyes made him asphyxia. This is a woman he cannot afford to love. He and San Xiao grew up together. They were mutually exclusive, but they also protected each other. When San Xiao fell in love with someone, he told him immediately and told him to stay away. They cannot live like normal people and cannot fall in love openly. They are destined to be lonely and too proud. It was impossible for them to share the same woman, but he had for Goosey Eye. He must control this desire crazily. If Goosey Eye is in love, no matter who it is, if it is not the third young master, he will use all means to keep her close to him, and do everything possible to induce her to fall in love with him. But it just so happened that, it was the third young master. He knows very clearly that he is the short-term substitute of the third young master. One day, he will disappear, and this love will also disappear. Goosey Eye has chosen the third young master. If the third young master hadn't fallen asleep temporarily, he and Goosey Eye would have never interacted with each other, and they would never have had one in their lifetime. How happy the love is, how clear the pain is. The more love he has, the more pain he will suffer. Xiao Ci, I'm not. Mom, I want to watch a movie too, Guzio's voice came from upstairs, and then he ran downstairs. His voice interrupted the third master's confession. The sentence "I am not him" was almost blurted out, but was interrupted again. Guzio pushed open the door of the movie hall. There was a row of soft seats in the movie hall. Goosey Eye and Lu Ziwen sat side by side, each holding a pillow, with exactly the same posture and a very serious attitude. The movie is the latest popcorn movie. It has not been released in China yet, but it has been released in Europe and the United States. Gu Zhiu reversed the original film, and neither mother nor son had time to watch it. Lu Ziwen looked at Gu Zhiu secretly, wanting to be alone and unable to stop his eyes. However, this was a movie theater specially built by Gu Zhiu, and the light was relatively dark, so Gu Zhiu did not notice his resentment at all. "Mom, does it look good?" Gu Zhiu sat next to Gu Zhiu and didn't notice anything was wrong with the atmosphere. He opened the drawer, took out a bucket of popcorn and started to eat it. After watching it for 10 minutes, Gu Zhiu, who had been kissing Lu Ziwen the whole time, had no idea about the plot. She responded to the light bulb Ziyu numbly, "It's beautiful." Gu Zhiu held the popcorn and thought for a while, "Can I sit between you? It will be convenient for you to eat popcorn." Gu Sinam moved to the side, and the big light bulb Gu Zhiu asked Lu Ziwen unconsciously, "Dad, do you want to eat?" "Don't eat." "Mom, do you want to eat?" "Don't eat." Gu Zhiu has finally become a little indifferent. His parents are so indifferent to him. Why? His round eyes turned. What did he do wrong? Is mom angry when she knows he assassinated dad? Snored. He is also going to be angry. In my mother's heart, father is indeed the most important. For the sake of my father, I actually gave him a hard time. A family of 3 watched a movie in silence. Gu Zhiu was still a child in a warm family atmosphere. He became magnanimous and careless when he got angry for a while. "Last time you went to the movies with us, you spoiled the movie all the way and almost got beaten up. I didn't expect you to hold back from spoiling it this time," Gu Zhiu mocked Lu Ziwen. "He likes to watch movies together as a family, so forget about the crowds and so on." "I haven't seen it, so I can't spoil it." Lu Ziwen has not seen this new movie. Watching the movie is the responsibility of the third master. If the third master watches it once, he can remember the plot, so he has seen it. He has basically nothing to do with entertainment. That's great, otherwise it would be terrible to watch the movie with your spoilers. Gu Zhiu once again enthusiastically invited, "Eat popcorn." "I don't eat snacks." "Didn't you have a great time eating last time?" Lu Ziwen frowned, "Watch a movie quietly." As the movie comes to an end, Gu Zhiu still likes to watch popcorn movies. The plot is a stereotype of heroism, but it has real feelings that touch people's hearts. It is passionate when it should be passionate, and it is sensational when it should be sensational. Both the literary and martial arts are very brilliant. After watching the movie, it's almost time for lunch. I always have a premonition that I will be locked. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 283. Chapter 283. Father and son fight each other. Lu Ziwen planned to spend the whole day at Lanshan Villa. He had recently been a hands-off shopkeeper and was very happy about it. Gu Zhiu was originally planning to rescue Zhang Junlin. But Lu Ziwen was always there, and she couldn't get away, and she couldn't show that she didn't welcome him. How could Gu Zhiu, who loved Lu Ziwen so much but would vomit blood the moment he saw something happen to him and would die without him, refuse to be alone with him? The only thing we can do is postpone the plan a little longer. Coincidentally, it was a snowstorm in Paris, and the weather was not suitable for rescue. Gu Zhiu basically locked the positions of Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin, but did not dare to act rashly or resort to the same tactics. Gu Zhiu went to prepare lunch. Gu Zhiu very excitedly took out the chess and wanted to play another 300 rounds with Lu Ziwen. Lu Ziwen naturally accompanied him, and then played 5 games and lost 4. He almost won one game, but was overturned by Lu Ziwen. Gu Xi couldn't help crying or laughing. Seeing her son's angry face, she couldn't help but send a text message to Lu Ziwen. Gu Xi, if you let him win a game, he will be very eager to win and lose. If he loses again, he will not be able to eat well. Lu Ziwen, got it? Gu Xi, be more natural. It was natural for Lu Ziwen to let go, so they had been playing for half an hour in this game and had not seen a winner yet, so they forced themselves to play with Gu Xiu at his level. Gu Xiu was so happy that he ate a cannon cart from Lu Ziwen. The joy of a child is very simple. Eat first, save the remaining game, and play again later. While they were playing chess, Gu Xi prepared all the ingredients. She made a pot of old duck soup and ate hot pot. Neither Gu Xiu nor Lu Ziwen liked hot pot. Neither the third master nor the third young master likes hot pot, which is rare for them to agree on. Gu Xi likes it. Eating hot pot in winter is the most comfortable. The ingredients are all what their father and son like, including beef, mutton, seafood, etc. When the bottom of the pot boils, the aroma overflows. Lu Ziwen and Gu Xiu are aroused, and they have a temporary truce. They don't like hot pot because they don't like to eat hot pot with others. They are a family of 3, and neither Gu Xiu nor Lu Ziwen dislike it. This is the first time for their family of 3 to eat hot pot. Gu Xi met a large piece of beef with chopsticks. He smiled and his face turned red. Gu Xi smiled and asked, "So happy?" Gu Xiu smiled implicitly and raised his coke. "Come, let's celebrate our first hot pot." "You want to celebrate?" Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows, but honestly raised the milk that Gu Xi poured for him. He really wanted to complain about eating hot pot and drinking milk. Gu Xi didn't care about Gu Xiu drinking coke, but he was recovering from a serious injury, so he was not allowed to drink drinks or wine. "Do you understand the sense of ceremony?" Gu Xiu happily clinked glasses with Gu Xi and Lu Ziwen. Even if they had just killed each other a few days ago, it did not affect their celebration of reunion at the dinner table. "Mom, wait a minute, I'll play chess with him again after dinner. I'm sure to win this time, I have a hunch." "Then you are so awesome, you are indeed a genius boy." Lu Ziwen looked at Gu Xi with a half smile but not a smile. Who asked him to release water for his son? Now he is praising him like this. This is too contrary to his will. The Chinese New Year will be here in about 10 days. Do you want to celebrate the Chinese New Year together this year? Gu Xiu asked, looking forward to it. This was another fresh first time. They are a family of 3 and have never celebrated the New Year together. Gu Xiu has been looking forward to it for a long time. Gu Xi and Lu Ziwen looked at each other. Gu Xi wanted Lu Ziwen to celebrate the New Year with them, but Lu Ziwen was not sure what would happen then. If the third young master woke up, he might not have the chance to celebrate the New Year with them. Yes, Lu Ziwen agreed first. He could go back to the Lu family mansion to have dinner with Lu Ziyi at noon and join them in the evening. Great, then after I finish the exam, let's go shopping for Spring Festival couplets and New Year's goods together. Gu Xiu was already in high spirits. Xiu, who was originally very lonely and homely, began to look forward to the excitement. Okay, Lu Ziwen also agreed to him. Looking at Xiu's eager eyes, he felt a little uncomfortable. The child's eyes made him soft-hearted and he couldn't say a word of rejection. "What New Year's goods do you like?" Lu Ziwen asked. "I love to eat pastries and all kinds of snacks." Gu Xiu was at the age when he was growing taller and greedier. Gu Xi cooked shrimps for Gu Xiu and said in his usual tone, "I'm afraid it won't be a good time during the Chinese New Year this year. My brother won't be able to come back. My uncle is still thinking of a reasonable explanation. I don't know if Grandma and Grandpa can believe it. My brother seems to this is the first year I'm not at home to celebrate the New Year. The Zhang family attaches great importance to etiquette and tradition. No matter how busy the junior is, no matter where he is on a business trip, he must come back to watch the New Year's Eve together and have the New Year's Eve dinner together on New Year's Eve. Most likely, her uncle will ask her to go back with Ziu. It may not be possible for a family of 3 to celebrate the New Year. As soon as Gu Si mentioned Zhang Junlin, Lu Ziwen chose to remain silent and just ate meat without saying a word. Maybe, I can come back on New Year's Eve, Gu Ziu said. I had a video chat with my uncle that day, and he lost a lot of weight. He and Ji Sun fought each other so badly. Is the injury serious? Gu Si was worried. It's not serious. It looks like a skin injury. My uncle loves to be clean and picky. It's really hard for him to be locked up in one place. I bet, if he didn't have to maintain basic body metabolism, he would definitely not eat a bite of food. Brother, it's so miserable. Lu Ziwen was also rinsing the shrimp, and he had reasonable suspicion that the mother and son mentioned Zhang Junlin in front of him in a chorus. Gu Si and Gu Ziu looked at each other, and Gu Si tried and said, "Third brother, just tell the third master and ask Ji Sun to release my brother. More than a month in prison is enough. This matter has nothing to do with me." Lu Ziwen ignored it and said, "You go find the third master yourself." Gu Si was speechless, confusing the real with the fake. Gu Ziu wiped his throat and said calmly, "You will marry my mother sooner or later, right? That uncle is your elder brother-in-law. What good can you gain by offending your elder uncle? Don't you be afraid when you go to propose marriage," was slapped out by him. Lu Ziwen. It makes sense and cannot be refuted. My cheap grandfather and real uncle are definitely dead. Mom definitely doesn't recognize them. That means the eldest brother is your father. You will have to deal with the Zhang family frequently in the future, Gu Ziu said with reason. Let them go now. Uncle, everyone still remembers your kindness and earns impression points. Isn't my impression score good enough? Except for Zhang Junlin, everyone in the Zhang family must be my fans. If you don't live up to your expectations, you have to try to make your uncle your fan. No, Lu Ziwen was indifferent. The third master can't talk to Ji Sun. Don't you have a close relationship with him? Ask Ji Sun to let him go. If he is willing, will I find you? Gu Ziu couldn't help but retort. The third master said it, but Ji Sun refused. Gu Ziu snorted coldly, if you can't control your own people, the third master is really a failure. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 284. Chapter 284 Baby threatens mother. Lu Ziwen crossed his legs and smiled evilly. You also have a special hungmen banquet? Should I eat this meal, or should I not eat it? He has been listening to their father and son, and Gupo, who does not care about himself, gave him a glass of milk. Gu Ziu. At the next dinner table, all the talk was about the new year. Gu Ziu had no chance to beat Lu Ziwen in the last round. After lunch, Lu Ziyi called and said that he had arrived at Universal. Lu Ziwen got up and left after lunch. When his car disappeared, Gu Ziu narrowed his eyes and asked Gu Si, "Mom, is he the third master?" Gu Si was startled and looked at Gu Ziu. With just one look, Gu Ziu understood. Gu Si had known it all along. How can you tell? His acting skills have been very good recently. His acting skills are all fake. Sometimes I thought he was back. Gu Si's tone was a bit lonely. The last time he played chess with me, I was suspicious. Dad didn't pay attention to anything except racing, but he actually played a good chess game. I was quite confused. But he did play well. I thought, maybe it was the skills are similar. After all, the third master can also race cars. But today, when I called him Dad in the cinema, he actually responded. Gu Ziu said firmly, Dad doesn't know the truth yet, so how could he just accept it naturally, and he was too concerned about the assassination. The third young master has always been indifferent to the affairs of the third master. Since the car accident, I have been the third master. I pulled Guzio to sit aside. Since you have seen through it, don't tell me, just act out this scene with us. Mom, Guzio panicked. He finally understood why his mother's condition was under control before going abroad. Her father's car accident would indeed irritate her, but then her father was fine. How could her mother's mental state change? It gets worse every day. On the day she came back from Universal, she didn't talk to each other the whole way. It turned out that she and her father had been acting the whole time, both of them were acting. Can't he come back? Guzio asked cautiously, fearing to irritate Guzii. Guzii looked out the window, her eyes a little wandering. I don't know. Guzio's eyebrows knitted together. Mom, do you want to keep acting? Keeping acting means that she has never been able to accept the truth. This is a time bomb. Her mental state cannot be better. Fortunately, her uncle's matter has distracted her attention these days. Otherwise, the consequences would have been disastrous, but her uncle's matter turned out to be a timely blessing. I don't want to act, what can I do? Tell him directly. Gucci's eyes were slightly red. Ziu, don't break my fantasy, okay? Mom, please. Let's go see the doctor, okay? Guzio held her hand sadly. I am a doctor myself. The most difficult patient in the world is that she gave up treatment and was unwilling to be cured. She just wanted to live in a false world. Gu Siming knew her current emotions and the disguise of the third master. All the warmth and sweetness are just mirages, and she is still sinking into them. At least, we need to know what's going on, Guzio said softly. If you don't ask, you will never know. Will Dad never come back? Or will it be short-lived? If it is short-lived, when will he come back? So that you have a bottom line in your mind. Guzio is afraid that Lu Ziwen will never come back, and Gu Ci is unwilling to accept the fact. Then one day, the third master will no longer want to act, and her mirage will be shattered, and her mother will go crazy. Ziu, isn't this bad? Gu Ci looked at Guzio with red eyes. Nothing has changed. He is always by your side, playing chess with you and eating with you. Our family of three can. What's wrong with being together all the time? What if he doesn't want to act anymore? Guzio didn't want to indulge Gu Ci. He knew that if he continued to indulge Gu Ci, he would lose Gu Ci. Even if it makes his mother sad, he will force Gu Ci to see clearly. Why is he acting in the scene? Because he is focused on the Black Hawk. I guess it was my father who begged him before he left, so he is willing to accompany you to act, but it's fake. Yes, it's fake. The stage will always end and the actors will always leave. We can't always live in the play. Mom doesn't want to wake up. Gu Ci calmly looked at her, soul falling. Ziu, I'm sorry. Guzio's eyes were red, and he was terribly distressed. He saw his mother from the previous life again. His mother had always been sleeping in the nightmare of the previous life, and he had come out of it. But no one took her out. After they returned home, Guzio was flustered and frightened that day when he came back from the world, as if seeing Gu Ci in the previous life was not his illusion, and his mother was seriously ill again. But he can't condone it anymore. Mom, after you went crazy in the last life, I took the wrong path. I felt sorry for you, so I indulged you and we depended on each other. I was also afraid of losing you. Do you know? When you lost your mind, it really hurt to hit me. Guzio tore open his clothes, and the scars were evidence that that nightmare really happened. I would rather let you hurt me and torture me than break your dream, but in the end, I still lost you. So in this life, I will not indulge you anymore. Mom, you must see a doctor. You cannot live in your own mirage. Your emotions are fake, and you will never be able to accept him leaving you. Fact. Guzio looked at Gu Ci, whose face was filled with tears, and said softly, Mom, even if Dad is gone, I will still be by your side. Gu Ci looked at the scars on Guzio's body. like knives constantly cutting into her heart. She held his clothes with her trembling hands. However, he never made a promise to Guziu. I know that to untie the bell, you must tie the bell. I am not your medicine. Guziu wiped away his tears, but I can never indulge your addiction anymore. His mother was brave, strong, beautiful, and smart. He could use all the words to describe her. But if Lu Ziwen died, his mother would also become a walking corpse. She had never gotten rid of the nightmare of her previous life. She also drew a prison wall and locked herself in that nightmare forever. Who else could take her out except her father in her previous life? Ziu, do you have to force me? I jumped from the rooftop of Global Tower. Are you willing to see a doctor? Gu Ziyi met a strong dose of medicine, and Gu Ziyi suddenly looked up at him. What are you talking about? Anyway, you only need Lu Ziwen. It doesn't matter whether I am or not. Gu Ziyi laughed at himself. Mom, I do what I say, but I don't have superpowers. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 285. Chapter 285, The Way is Higher and the Devil is Higher. You dare? Gu Ziyi held his arm, trembling all over. Mom promises you, go to the doctor. Time, Gu Ziyi's face was expressionless. After the new year. You're not trying to deal with me, are you? Gu Ziyi raised his eyebrows. Mom, I'm not easy to lie to. Before I went abroad, it was my master who was treating my illness. If I want treatment, I have to wait for her to come back. Gu Ziyi nervously grabbed his arm. Ziyu, you finally have a bright future, don't do stupid things. Mom, I'll give this to you too. Gu Ziyi wiped away her tears gently. Even if dad can't come back and the third master doesn't love you, that doesn't matter. You want him to be by your side. Just try your best to make him fall in love with you, and then you can get what you want. Either find another young talent, I don't mind, or you can pursue a career all your life. He doesn't want you, and you don't want it, but you can't be immersed in it like you are now. In lies. She will go crazy in lies. Good. Gu Ziyi promised well, but she had another nightmare at night. Gu Ziyi was awakened by her screams. He quietly approached Gu Ziyi's bedroom and saw Gu Ziyi taking medicine in a hurry. He has seen those medicines, they are antidepressants. But after taking the medicine, she became calmer, but she couldn't sleep. She sat on the bay window, biting her hands, and cried very depressedly, "Third brother, when will you come back?" Gu Ziyi's eyes were also red. Even though he had such a tough attitude during the day, as long as Gu Ziyi shed tears, he would surrender. Gu Ziyi slapped himself, feeling very guilty. He shouldn't have taken strong medicine, but should have taken it slowly. He was also too careless. It was obviously abnormal for his mother to take so many sleeping pills that night, but he was coaxed by her in a few words. He really thought that she was taking care of his father and he didn't sleep well. After your mother came back, did you cry silently alone at night when you couldn't sleep? What should he do? Paris, Ji-sun's house. Ji-sun's arm was severely infected with bacteria. Nick almost knelt down and begged him to go to the hospital. Ji-sun was indifferent and still asked his family doctor to deal with it. He glanced at the dark room. Jang Junlin was lying on his side with his back to the camera. Jang Junlin knew that he was monitoring him and often turned his back to the camera. Ji-sun was used to it. But 3 minutes later, when he looked again, Jang Junlin still maintained the same posture. Ji-sun frowned, realized something was wrong, and hurriedly left the dark room. Jang Junlin. Ji-sun was in a rare panic, thinking that someone had tampered with the surveillance. Jang Junlin had been rescued. When he got out of the darkroom, he found that he had been too worried. Jang Junlin was lying on his side, motionless, when he heard Ji-sun's voice. Also indifferent. Ji-sun turned around and wanted to go upstairs, but he was suspicious that something was wrong. He came over and his face changed drastically as soon as he took a look. Jang Junlin passed out, his face was pale, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. He pressed his hand on his stomach and curled up. Shrinking. Jang Junlin, what's wrong with you? Ji Xian turned over his body to see more clearly. Cold sweat almost soaked his clothes. Jang Junlin was unconscious, but he slapped his hand open. Ji Sun shouted up, "Nick, call the doctor." The family doctor came quickly. According to Jang Junlin's condition, the initial diagnosis was acute gastritis. The doctor said, acute gastritis needs to be sent to the hospital. He has been detained by you for a few more days. If the condition worsens and there are complications, there will be serious consequences to reverse the damage, please. Nick, prepare the car and go to the hospital. Ji Huan hurriedly unchained him, ignoring the scars on his arms, picked up the semi-conscious Jang Junlin, and hurried out. Everyone in Nick is shocked, your arm is almost useless, everyone is kneeling and begging, but you are not willing to go to the hospital. If Mr. Zhang has a problem, you are willing to go to the hospital? Prepare the car immediately, Nick said, ordering all the guards to assemble and ask people to clear the obstacles on the road to prevent people from the Udeo dark network from causing trouble. DR North contacted Gu Ci immediately. Gu Ci made a decision immediately, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The hospital is full of dragons and snakes, so it is easiest to take action. Don't hesitate. I will assign another team of people to you. We must rescue my brother. Okay. One of the guards next to North turned on the recorder. Gu Ci looked at the recorder, judged the situation at the scene, and gave command to DR North. Jang Junlin is suffering from an emergency. There is a hospital 5 kilometers away. Nick has already contacted him. The operating room and ward there are ready. When Jang Junlin was put in the car, he opened his eyes and the car drove all the way down the mountain. Brother, do you have a stomachache? Ji Xian held his hand and asked in an urgent voice, besides the stomachache, is there anything else that makes you uncomfortable? Jang Junlin silently broke away from his hand. Ji Sun knew that he had always had stomach problems, which were not particularly serious. He also prepared stomach medicine. If Jang Junlin felt uncomfortable, he would take medicine himself. Why would it cause acute gastritis? Jang Junlin closed his eyes, unwilling to say a word to Ji Huan. In addition to the driver, there was also Nick, who was Jang Junlin. 4 cars were driving ahead, and 4 cars were following behind. Jang Junlin, what's wrong with you talking? Jang Junlin remained silent the whole time. Ji Sun was anxious and angry. As soon as the car got off the car and less than a minute after driving, Jang Junlin suddenly stood up and grabbed Ji Sun's throat with one hand. His voice was hoarse but calm, go there open downtown. Brother, under the snowy light, Ji Sun's eyes were cold and painful, you are really pretending. Jang Junlin frowned and said coldly, drive to the city, or I will kill your master. Kill him, Ji Sun sneered, drive to the suburban hospital and ignore him. He was calm, not caring that his life was in Jang Junlin's hands. He raised his neck, exposing his most vulnerable arteries, come on, kill me, and then you will be buried with me. Ji Sun, Jang Junlin punched him in the face, shut up. Ji Sun was bleeding instantly, but he didn't care at all. The driver didn't know who to listen to. Jang Junlin struck the back of Ji Sun's neck with his palm, and Ji Sun was knocked unconscious by him. Drive to the city or I'll kill him. Ji Huan fell softly on Jang Junlin's body and hit him on the waist and abdomen. Jang Junlin's forehead became even more sweaty. When Nick saw this, he gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, drive to the city. Yes, the driver listened to the order, but as soon as he changed lanes, an off-road vehicle suddenly rushed in and hit the car where Jang Junlin and Ji Sun were sitting. The road was slippery in the snow and the car was going too fast. The car was directly hit. The car was overturned. Jang Junlin and Ji-sun were in the back seat, neither wearing seat belts. They were knocked out in an instant. Ji-sun was still in a coma. Jang Junlin turned his head and saw the car hitting him. It broke the glass in an instant. Then the security vehicle they were riding in rolled over. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 286. Chapter 286. Like when we ran away together. The accident happened so fast that there was no time to react. Jang Junlin instinctively hugged Ji-sun's head and held it in his arms to protect Ji-sun's head. The car was knocked off the road and rolled over one after another. The left and right windows were all broken and it rolled to the ground. Jang Junlin felt like the world was spinning. His head hit the remaining glass of the car door, causing a direct cut. Blood fell from his forehead to the corners of his eyes. A piece of the broken glass hit his back, but Ji-sun was protected in his arms and was unharmed. Jang Junlin took a deep breath, held the glass that penetrated his back with his backhand, and pulled it out. The driver was lying on the steering wheel, unaware of his identity. Nick asked urgently, "How is the master?" "He's fine," Jang Junlin responded while pulling out the glass. As soon as he pulled it out, blood flowed out and severe pain hit him. Without even frowning, he stretched out his legs and kicked the car door open. Immediately afterwards, several security vehicles rushed out from both sides and fired directly at Ji-sun's guard team. Nick's eyes were splitting with blood. "Mr. Jang, tell them to stop." Jang Junlin kicked the car door open and slapped Ji-sun on the face. "Wake up." He turned to Nick and said, "Give me a gun, this is not my person." The two sides were already exchanging fire. Yi Shui's son was hit by a bullet in the car. Ji Huan was violently dragged out of the car by Jang Junlin. Even if his life was on the verge of death, Jang Junlin did not leave Ji Huan and escape alone. Perhaps Jang Junlin's palm was too strong and he never woke up. Nick pulled out the gun of the unconscious driver and handed it to Jang Junlin. "Not your person." In view of Mr. Jiang's many lies and too many criminal records, Nick doesn't know whether to believe him. But if Mr. Jang dies and his master wakes up crazy, he can only trust Jang Junlin. Jang Junlin pressed Ji-sun and hid behind the car. The car body on the other side was almost smashed. Ji-sun's guards fought back and quickly reported to the nearby Black Hawk security team. Ji-sun woke up with a splitting headache. He remembered that Jang Junlin had knocked him out. Before he could get angry, he was grabbed by Jang Junlin's arm and thrown out as soon as he woke up. Jang Junlin also ran forward a few steps and lay on the ground with one hand. "Hold down Ji-sun's head." The car they were hiding in had its fuel tank blown out and exploded. The car body was torn into pieces, and a piece of it hit them directly. Ji-sun and Jang Junlin rolled away from each other, and the fragments ignited and fell between them. 4 security vehicles arrived, and a total of 11 people got out. They all fired heavy firepower and shot directly at Ji-sun's guards indiscriminately, causing rivers of blood to flow instantly. "What's going on?" Ji-sun adjusted the channel on his headphones. Nick said, "Master, we were ambushed, not Mr. Jiang's people." Ji-sun's eyes darkened and he looked at Jang Junlin. Jang Junlin changed his cover, but the bullets were chasing him, so densely that they seemed to turn him into a hornet's nest. Jang Junlin was injured one after another and his face turned pale. Nick said, "Rong Li's people will arrive in 10 minutes. Their firepower is too strong. Master, you go first, we will cover you." Find Jang Junlin, the killer who came was wearing a mask, but he spoke in Chinese. He was obviously coming for Jang Junlin. Ji-sun made a quick decision, cover me. Yes. Under the cover of the guard's firepower, Ji-sun dragged Jang Junlin and ran to the lake. There was a small forest next to the lake. Once they entered the small forest, there was at least one bunker. Bullets were chasing them. Ji-sun had already noticed Jang Junlin. Junlin's head and back were covered in blood, which was shocking. He pushed Jang Junlin forward, and he helped Jang Junlin block the bullets from behind. As long as he is alive, no one can take away Jang Junlin's life. Who wants to kill Jang Junlin, unless he steps on his body? Ji-sun turned around and shot in the back while running. The two of them ran into the woods. Chase, the group of people had no intention of dealing with Ji-sun's guards. The leader waved his hand and chased directly to the lake. After entering the grove, Jang Junlin and Ji Huan did not stop. Ji Huan's fingers took off the clothes on Jang Junlin's back. Nearly 5 centimeters were inserted into the glass on the left back. The bones were deeply visible, and the flesh and blood were turned out. It was very interesting to see. Shocking. Ji-sun's head was buzzing, and he couldn't help but taunted, "You wanted to escape, but why weren't you prepared and were you killed in such a helter-skelter manner?" "Shut up," Jang Junlin turned around and shouted harshly, but he didn't stop and didn't dare to stop at all. The woods were 100 meters away, and Ji-sun knew they were chasing after him from the sound in the wind and snow. "Where are your people?" Ji-sun asked. "I have been locked up by you, how do you know?" Jang Junlin frowned. Ji-sun took him to transfer once, but it was not far away. Xiaosai should have located his location long ago and used a rat-proof weapon to attack him on the way to the hospital. The people who rescue him will immediately cooperate with him, but why are the people who come to assassinate him? The two of them ran forward, and Nick's voice gradually disappeared from Ji-sun's headset. There was a problem with the signal. Someone must have used a signal jammer. The whereabouts of the two of them were in the woods and there was no way to hide them. This was nothing. Dense forest. Wait a minute. Jang Junlin stopped. "Listen, stop the pursuit behind you." The two leaned against the tree, listening to the sounds behind them. They were indeed silent. Ji-sun and Jang Junlin looked at each other, and both saw the solemnity in their eyes. Jang Junlin said, "Go east, don't take the straight road. If they also lay a trap in front, no matter which way you go, there will be someone guarding it. Resources are limited, they will deploy their firepower in the predicted direction. Let's go," Jang Junlin said in a deep voice. "I am familiar with this assassination mode, follow me." Jang Junlin changed the road midway. Ji Huan wanted to ridicule him, but he was on the run. He stopped arguing with him and ran forward with Jang Junlin. Suddenly, Jang Junlin's eyes went dark, and he held onto the tree trunk with one hand, and the world was spinning. Ji Xian held his arm and asked, "What's wrong?" Jang Junlin took a deep breath, kicked him away, and lowered his voice, "You have done a good job, and you still have the nerve to ask." He ate less, had low blood sugar, and lost too much blood, and his physical strength was almost exhausted. Ji-sun understood from the look on his face that Jang Junlin's injury had to be treated. "You have to be obedient, right?" Ji Xian was angry. "You got the stomach problem just in time, you had to run away, but as a result, you were killed in the woods and were shot to death. Are you happy? It's better to be locked in a dark room by me. Don't make me beat you up." Ji-sun sneered, "Hit me. It's not the first time you've hit me." Jang Junlin took a deep breath and was so angry that he felt dizzy. When the two people ran to the edge of the forest, they lay down on the ground and moved forward. The visibility was relatively low at night. "Brother, is it like when we ran away together?" "Shut up and be quiet." Jang Junlin listened carefully to the movement outside the woods. After waiting for a moment, Jang Junlin clicked on 3 directions. Ji Xian nodded and fired blindly. 3 gunshots were fired back instantly. After they fired back, Zhang Junlin raised his hand and fired 3 more shots. Walk. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 287. Chapter 287. If you want to die, don't hold me back. Ji-sun stood up and followed him out. When he passed 3 corpses, Ji-sun's heart skipped a beat. Zhang Junlin was indeed familiar with the set of assassination methods. He even knew the location and layout. This is someone from inside the dark network who came to kill him. When Zhang Junlin passed by a corpse, he took away his firearms and ammunition. The two got into a car and left quickly. Zhang Junlin was leaning on the passenger seat, sweating and his face getting paler. He took Ji-sun's cell phone and contacted Gu Ci, Xiao Ci, compile a list of the dark web in Paris, a list of all the people. Brother? Are you out? Gu Ci was very surprised. Are you okay? Who will lead the team to rescue me tonight? It's Master, she's here. What's wrong? Gu Ci heard that Zhang Junlin's tone was bad, and her heart sank. You call everyone back. Now, Gu Ci was confused. Immediately, Zhang Junlin said, compile a list of personnel yourself. Don't pass through anyone's hands. Gather them all at save point number 1 and count the number of people. Okay, Gu Ci said, brother, are you okay? If you can't die, do it immediately. Good. Ji-sun raised his eyebrows and said with a half smile, it turned out to be Miss Gu Ci. I asked you who took over the Jideo Dark Network after you were imprisoned by me. You actually kept a secret before you were imprisoned by me. What a calculation, a perfect plan. Zhang Junlin didn't answer his question, but his face became paler and paler, and his consciousness became a little blurry. He glanced at the road and something seemed wrong. Ji-sun threw his cell phone into a passing pickup truck and turned right. Go the other way. Where are you going? Since we are members of the dark web, we can trace our whereabouts by tracking our mobile phones. I can't bet on it. Who knows how many of them will withdraw and how many of them will stay and continue to kill you. Zhang Junlin was a little dazed. It was already late at night. At 10 o'clock in the evening, there was no one on the road. Ji Xian parked the car on the side of the road, looked around, got out of the car, pried open the door of a private clinic, and turned around to fight Zhang Junlin. Get in. After closing the door, Ji Huan looked around for gauze, stitches, hemostatic medicine, etc. He quickly picked up salt water and hung it up for Zhang Junlin. Zhang Junlin slapped his hand away and said, get out of here. Brother, don't move. Ji-sun pressed him roughly and turned his hair away. Fortunately, the wound was not deep. Ji-sun's face was solemn. Without me, do you want to sew alone? Zhang Junlin gritted his teeth and remained silent. He glanced at his forearm. Ji-sun's forearm was injured several times and the wound had long been festered. How did he hold on all the way? It didn't seem to affect him from shooting. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have suspected that Ji-sun's injury was a ruse. It will hurt a little, bear with it. There was no anesthesia in the small clinic, so Ji-sun searched all over, so he had to just sew it up. Zhang Junlin said in a deep voice, stop talking nonsense, hurry up. Ji Huan first sewed up the wound on his head, giving him 13 stitches. Zhang Junlin didn't groan. Only his clenched fists and cold sweat all over his body revealed his pain. Ji Huan felt distressed and had no choice but to do so. Zhang Junlin took off his shirt, which had long been stained red with blood and sweat. He threw the shirt into the trash can. Ji-sun disinfected the wound. The wound on his back required more than 20 stitches. In order to avoid his torture, Ji-sun made a quick decision. Zhang Junlin was so painful that he was unconscious and had stomach cramps. He deliberately tortured himself until the sequelae of acute gastritis appeared. Zhang Junlin asked Ji-sun to get him an anti-inflammatory injection, and he took it himself to relieve the pain of gastritis. There was no anesthetic, and a total of about 40 stitches were needed. Zhang Junlin was so painful that his nerves were numb. Ji Sun put a roll of gauze into his mouth and asked him to bite it. He looked very distressed. After the stitches were done, Ji Sun found a clean t-shirt and took a towel to wipe his sweat. And then discovered the bruises on Zhang Junlin's stomach. They were bruises that appeared after repeated pressure. The bruises had turned from purple to black, which showed how cruel he had been. Ji Sun glared at him fiercely. This is the reason why you suddenly suffered from gastritis. You know you have stomach problems, but you still dare to. Is Zhang Junlin so cruel to himself? Zhang Junlin weakly took the t-shirt and put it on, giving him a cold look, not at all as determined as he was to protect him in the car, and even kicked him away in annoyance. I'm not in the mood to listen to these nonsense. Ji Sun's face turned pale. In Zhang Junlin's eyes, everything he did was considered a waste. Let's go. Ji Xian stood up and pulled him to leave. Zhang Junlin glanced at his forearm, took some medicine, and left with Ji Xian. Although the wound on his back was sutured, he could not move rashly. The two of them changed a car, leaving this neighborhood. They are coming for me. You go, Zhang Junlin said in a deep voice. These people are well trained and decisive in killing. If Ji Sun follows him, they will only fall into danger together. Don't even think about it. Ji Sun gritted his teeth and said, whoever comes to kill you must step over my body first. His thoughts about Zhang Junlin, good or bad, were never hidden. Zhang Junlin lowered his eyes and said nothing, and said in a deep voice, Black Eagle, please don't interfere in our internal affairs of the Yakuza. I lost my mobile phone. This matter has nothing to do with the Black Hawk. Ji Sun lost his mobile phone. In addition to not wanting to be located, Ji Sun also sent a message to Nick not to worry about it. He can go from poverty to poverty for Zhang Junlin, but his guards have no responsibility or obligation. You want to die, do whatever you want. Zhang Junlin's tone was particularly cold. He had just escaped from Ji Sun's darkroom and was trapped in an assassination. No one would be in a happy mood. Do you have a safe house in Paris? Ji Huan didn't mind his indifference. Zhang Junlin had said all the harsh words, and Ji Huan was almost immune. He was like the candy on Zhang Junlin's body, which he couldn't get rid of at all. Zhang Junlin has a safe house in Paris, but it must not be safe now. I have. Ji Sun sneered, it's better to be locked up by me all the time. Buy 2 disposable phone cards and a mobile phone. Do you have money? Ji Sun mocked, have you brought your card? Zhang Junlin has nothing, and Ji Huan's mobile phone is not with him. He doesn't bring any money or card. So, we are penniless and have no money for food. Just accept our fate, brother. No matter how much they torture or kill each other, they can always act in unison at the critical moment. Zhang Junlin closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Ji Sun glanced at him. Although he suffered from excessive blood loss, gastritis, and weakness, Ji Sun had some accidents and he was able to let down his guard and fall asleep. During his imprisonment, Zhang Junlin was always wary of him. How strange it was that after I came out, my life was hanging by a thread, but I fell asleep next to him with peace of mind. Zhang Junlin knocked him unconscious while in the car. If he hadn't been awakened by the gunfire, would Zhang Junlin have left him at the scene to die? After all, he wouldn't be able to go very far with a tow bottle. Ji Xian looked ahead with heavy eyes. The road ahead was windy and snowy, with no end in sight and no way back. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 288. Chapter 288. Who is the traitor? Dr. North and her people had been waiting at the foot of the mountain. When Ji Sun ordered to go out, Black Hawk's guards came to clear the obstacles. She was afraid of being exposed, so she ordered her people to retreat 2 kilometers away. A team of people was ready at the hospital to respond. 3 teams of people were distributed on the road, adapting to changes. She deployed a detailed plan at the hospital, but she also guessed that Zhang Junlin would not act according to the plan, and unexpectedly something happened on the way. The place where Zhang Junlin's accident happened was 2 kilometers away from her. After they heard the vague gunshots, they rushed over immediately. Who knew that the road was full of roadblocks and all the cars were scrapped? She brought people here on foot. When they arrived, wrongly people also gathered at the scene of the accident. Dr. North realized that the situation was not good and immediately contacted Gu Ci. Gu Ci happened to receive a call from Zhang Junlin and issued an order to withdraw all personnel and gather them in safe house number 1. Gu Ci also saw the tragic scene at the scene from the surveillance camera, and her heart sank. There are traitors among those sent out tonight? There are traitors in the dark web, and the Black Hawk may not be clean either. Otherwise, they would not have been able to avoid Gu Ci's deployment so accurately, pick the most appropriate position to attack, and block the main force of the G-Dao dark network. This assassination was accurate to every second. Global Center, Lu Ziwen also received the news. Ji Huan's last call was to Gu Ci. After Zhang Junlin came out, his first contact person was actually Gu Ci. This basically confirmed Lu Ziwen's guess that the new owner who had been replacing Zhang Junlin was Gu Ci. His intuition was not wrong. Ironically, the order was given to assassinate him at Universal that day. He was subsequently assassinated twice. The person who gave the order was also Gu Ci. Lu Ziwen's face was as heavy as water, and he had another severe headache. Some bizarre scenes flashed in his mind, but there were no traces of them. Lu Ziwen was in an extremely bad mood. Master, Ji Sun lost his cell phone, what should I say next? It's an internal struggle for power within the Jida. It has nothing to do with us. Leave him alone. If Ji Sun takes the initiative to ask for help, you decide. If he doesn't take the initiative to ask for help, let him go. Lu Ziwen calmly stopped, the Jida will be in chaos. You know what to do. I know, wrongly asked, doesn't this concern Ji Sun? I'm afraid that Zhang Junlin will be ruthless and use him to stop bullets. He seeks benevolence and gets benevolence, and whatever the result is, he chooses it himself. That's crazy, wrongly looked unhappy. It was afternoon in City A, the sun was shining brightly, but Lu Ziwen felt like winter in his heart. When he got up and walked out, he met Gu Ziu. Gu Ziu was carrying a small school bag. The father and son met each other. Gu Ziu said, Dad, I have something to do with you. Half an hour later, Gu Ci also received the news from Dr. North, and they had all retreated to safe point number 1. 31 people were sent out, and 27 people came back. 4 people were missing. Gu Ci recorded the list. Dr. North said, these people are on a mission in the hospital. They are too far from safe point number 1. They may have been delayed on the way. Xiaosai, why did you withdraw them? Has the master rescued them? Master, don't worry about this matter. I have a sense of propriety. Gu Ci also guessed that there was a traitor and didn't know who it was. Master, be careful. Everyone is disbanding on the spot and waiting for my order. Okay, I get it. Gu Ci rubbed her brows tiredly, then received a call from Zhang Minghua. Zhang Junlin had a video chat with his family. He was celebrating the New Year in Europe this year, and there was an explosion in a factory. He had to stay there to deal with it, and he would not be able to come back in time for the New Year. Business trips may disappear for a while. Brother, you made the video. You made the video. Zhang Minghua's heart dropped. Are you alright? Seeing how much weight you have lost, your grandma was so distressed that she cried. She must have been tortured a lot. Gu Ci didn't want them to worry, so she chuckled and said, Uncle, since my brother is fine, don't worry too much and have a good New Year. You and Zi come over on New Year's Eve and have New Year's Eve dinner together. Okay, Gu Ci said, Uncle, I still have something to do, so I'll hang up first. Okay, Zhang Junlin was safe and sound, and Zhang Minghua was in a good mood, but Gu Ci saw the risks behind it. If the traitors were eliminated, all this would be easy, just eliminate the traitors. But if it is an insider who wants to seize power and wants his brother to die, the matter will be difficult. It is impossible for her to accept all the channels and resources of the G-Dao dark web. Comparing her concerns, even if her brother has to leave a way out, he will keep the secret. Some things can only be recorded in the mind, not in the computer system. Who wants to kill him? I'm afraid only my brother knows about this. Ji Sun's safe house. He thought Zhang Junlin was just sleeping. Unexpectedly, Zhang Junlin fell into a coma. Ji Sun parked the car behind the garage and carried Zhang Junlin into the safe house. The safe house was an inconspicuous residential building. Duplex, 120 square meters, the space is not big. Ji Sun put Zhang Junlin down. The wound had collapsed. He simply treated the wound for himself. Zhang Junlin came back from the small clinic with anti-inflammatory drugs. I don't know if it's because of fighting fire with fire. The bacterial infection in his troubled little arm has recently been brought under control and has not continued to worsen. His young body has a good metabolism. Ji Xian looked at the sleeping Zhang Junlin. He stayed by his side, not daring to leave. He bought a mobile phone and a disposable phone card on the roadside. Ji Xian installed the disposable phone card and recharged it. He wanted to make a call, but gave up. Zhang Junlin had already used a disposable phone card and a video call with his family. He had been missing for so many days. It would be unreasonable if he did not report that he was safe. Knowing that someone would monitor the Zhang family, Zhang Junlin still took the risk and made this call. Ji Sun is jealous and envious when his family is so happy. Zhang Junlin said that he was not stable and the environment was unstable, so he slept very briefly. When he woke up, he did not see Ji Sun, which was quite surprising. Zhang Junlin knew that something was wrong with his body and did not need to be taken care of. Ji Sun had already given him he was on a drip. It's so ironic that I tried every possible means to escape from Ji Sun's dark room, but unexpectedly I entered another dark room. He quickly calmed down, which was an opportunity. He had long wanted to deal with these people who were eyeing him, and this incident gave him a good excuse. He escaped and was still alive. The people behind him must be panicking. If it were him, he would definitely give a death order and not allow him to return to the country. Zhang Junlin moved the four-stand and walked to the window. It turned out to be the downtown area of Paris, and it was an old neighborhood with streets extending in all directions. It was a good safe house. There was cash and firearms in the safe house. Zhang Junlin checked the firearms he took away from the corpse. The firearms and bullets were all numbered. Zhang Junlin knew the list of all the assassination team members under his command. He remembered every person and face. The firearms and bullets, if not for himself, yes, that means he is dead. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 289. Chapter 289. Father and son tell the truth. The Yakuza's death squads have a rule that unless they die, they cannot lose their firearms and bullets. I didn't expect that, Zhang Junlin muttered to himself. He heard sounds coming from the corridor. It was late at night in Paris and everyone was asleep, so the footsteps were particularly clear. He was so familiar with Ji Sun's footsteps that he didn't need to identify them. He knew it was him as soon as he heard them. Ji Huan was carrying a bag of daily necessities and food. The safe house was his own, so he would have supplies, but the food was basically instant food and dry food. He was afraid that Zhang Junlin wouldn't be used to it, so he went out to buy some hot food. Zhang Junlin stepped back from the window and looked at Ji Sun indifferently. The friendship he had just shared through life and death was not worth the pain of Ji Sun's confinement for more than a month, and the hatred that forced him to watch an explosion. The moment the car was knocked over, he subconsciously protected him. How ironic. This is the result of your escape, Ji Sun said with a sneer. Zhang Junlin's anger was instantly ignited. If I don't escape, these people will attack tonight. They won't throw any weapons at all. Can you win? Your people will be beaten to pieces, and I will only die in your dark room inside. That's not bad. I will be buried with you. We can't be born in the same year, the same month and the same day. I hope to die in the same year, the same month and the same day. It can be regarded as fulfilling my wish. If you want to die, go die on your own and don't hold me back. Ji Xian looked at his indifferent expression. He sat lazily by the window and exposed his little pear. It had been a while since he smiled sincerely. You thought you had no clue, why didn't you think it was time, being killed so embarrassingly by one of your own people? I didn't expect that if I weren't locked up by you, the Jideo Dark Network would not be in chaos. They have a thief heart but no courage. I can't cause chaos at all if I sit in charge alone, Zhang Junlin's deep eyes said. The storm condensed. It was me who indulged you too much, which made you so bold that you dared to do anything. The only thing he didn't count was that Ji Sun would imprison him. All the changes happened after Ji Sun imprisoned him. This was his only miscalculation. You indulge me, Ji Xian laughed and burst into tears. When have you ever indulged me, huh? Zhang Junlin was too lazy to talk to him, and was afraid in his heart. Fortunately, he counted the days. He had been imprisoned for so long, Xiaosai should have located him, and locked him for at least 3 days, but he dared not act. He just knows that if he has no news for such a long time, those people will rebel and seize power, so he must not be passively locked in a dark room. He must take the initiative. If he was passively locked in a dark room and waited for them to kill him, he could only put his life in Ji Sun's hands. Yes, Ji Sun would die for him, but he didn't want to die in the dark room with Ji Sun at all. He had to come out of the dark room. Fortunately, he was right. If it were 1 day later, maybe he and Ji Sun would really die. Will die in the dark room. In order not to attract attention, Ji Huan originally arranged not many guards in the castle. When people came to kill them, they would kill them accurately. With today's firepower, they could not withstand it. Let's eat, I don't want to argue with you, Ji Xian said lightly, opened the hot food, and Zhang Junlin sat over. Ji Xian bought Western food. There is no Chinese food on this street, and at this time, there are only 24 hours. Zhang Junlin didn't like to eat in fast food restaurants, but he didn't compete with himself. He wanted to take good care of his body and replenish his physical strength. He couldn't just sit back and wait for death. Zhang Junlin gulped down his meal, his body warmed up and he didn't feel so suffocated. Ji Sun slept in the bed he had just slept in, curled up and looking very pitiful. It is true that the little wolf cub wants to worry about him. It is true that when he is in danger, he is willing to take a bullet for him. Love and hate are all in one thought. Zhang Junlin found another bed to rest. He would no longer pity Ji Sun, nor would he indulge Ji Sun anymore, otherwise he would be doomed. Global Center. Guzia got straight to the point. Dad, I know it's you. How did you tell? Your interests and hobbies are different. No matter how similar you act, I can tell that you are not him. Do you think my mother has noticed it a long time ago? Guzia asked leisurely. Lu Ziwen had a premonition in his heart, especially after Gu Xi returned to China, the premonition was the strongest. However, Gusei was always happy in front of him and had no intention of missing the third young master. In addition, he also had selfish motives, so he did not delve into the matter. "You came to see me today, what's the matter?" Guzio didn't hide it either. "Dad, during the day, can't you come back?" Lu Ziwen's heart trembled, a little painful and a little sour. He finally understood the jealousy of the third young master. Gusei was looking forward to the third young master and loved the third young master. Ziazi, you should also be looking forward to him. He is not as interesting as San Shao, and he is not as sweet-tongued as San Shao. Standing there, San Shao is like a shining existence. Children will like it, and so will girls. I don't know, Lu Ziwen answered truthfully. Since the car accident, he has not appeared again. This situation is not normal and has never happened before. I don't know what happened. Maybe he will come back, maybe he won't come back. You can't play him anymore, Guzio said. My mother has always been mentally unstable. Before going abroad, Dr. North helped her treat her illness, and she has improved. However, her father was in a car accident and stimulated her too much. No matter how difficult things are, she can face them calmly. She will not be defeated by any hardships. Only you. She cannot accept losing you. Therefore, her mental state becomes unstable again. She has long seen through that you were acting, but she did not expose you and still acted with you. She has been living in a false dream. Guzio said, Dad, have you heard of a story? There was a very loving couple in the Middle Ages. The husband went to the battlefield the day after they got married and died on the battlefield. The wife did not admit that he was dead, and the husband's body was transported on the day she came back. She went to church to pray as usual. On the day her husband was buried, she danced happily in the ballroom. Everyone told her that her husband was dead, but she refused to accept it or admit it. She had always been very happy, every day. When a wave of soldiers returned home, she went to pick them up. Gradually, she became a stranger. They pitied her and condemned her. Finally, one day, she went crazy. 3 years after his death, she finally went to see her husband. And then died on his tombstone. This is a poignant love story. Love in troubled times is 9 times out of 10 miserable. Why are you telling me this? Lu Ziwen asked hoarsely. The same is true for my mother, she is going crazy. Guzio told another story. There was once a little boy. When he was in his mother's belly, his father died in a car accident. After his father died in a car accident, his mother also went crazy. His mother gave birth to him prematurely due to madness. The little boy saw his mother going crazy from the time he was babbling. He was scared and felt distressed. Gradually, everyone around him told him that because his father was dead, he was born. When his mother was crazy, he had to be considerate of her, so he cared about her and loved her since he was very young. When his mother was not crazy, she ignored him and always missed his father and told him gently that his father was racing a car. She would be able to go home soon. She always had such a sweet dream and refused to accept her father's departure. The little boy had countless scars on his body, which were all caused by his mother. He had been rushed to the hospital by his mother 3 times, but he doesn't hate his mother. He hopes that her mother can stay with him for a long time. Even if she is a crazy mother, he can't bear to let her go. So, he indulges her madness and goes crazy with her, but God doesn't like his mother. Still left. Many years later, the little boy grew up, took revenge, and lost his goal. One day he went to church to pray, and he cried and told a stranger that he missed his mother. If he could turn back time, he will never allow his mother to continue to sink in madness. He will not follow her into madness. He will stand in the light and lead her out. The best salvation is not to perish together. It was when she was sinking that he reached out to give her a hand. The gods are very kind and really fulfilled the little boy's wish. He turned into a little boy and returned to his mother. His mother looked healthy and beautiful. She had a lover and friends, but he knew that his mother has been stuck in the abyss of the previous life and has never come out. He is anxious and at a loss. Dad, what should he do? Has she ever been crazy? Lu Ziwen asked hoarsely. What does Gu Ci look like when he is crazy? How could she be so smart and proud, so crazy? She has been crazy for 6 years. Gu Ziu felt a pain in his heart and the end of his eyes were slightly red. Heart disease requires heart medicine. The only person who can save her is you. You can't accompany her to continue acting, she can't live in illusion. Lu Ziwen's heart was cut by a knife, and he could almost piece together the broken truth of the previous life and the pain Gu Ci suffered. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 290. Chapter 291. Father died, but there is another one. The little boy's mother, was she disfigured in her last life? Lu Ziwen suddenly asked. Yes, Gu Ziu said, there is a big scar on the face. Lu Ziwen remembered that day on campus, when Gu Ci asked him with a dagger if he liked the scarred Gu Ci. She almost cut her face with a knife. I see. So, the girl he has been dreaming about recently, it's Gu Ci. That's Gu Ci. Dad, you don't have to like her, Gu Ziu said, it's another father who likes mom, so I won't make it difficult for you. If you don't want to accompany her for treatment, I won't make it difficult for you, but you must tell her. Clearly, I will take her to the doctor, my mother, and I will take care of it myself. Lu Ziwen's heart ached suddenly and he couldn't listen to Gu Ziu's words. Is she already seriously ill? Yes, Gu Ziu said, if there was any way, I wouldn't come to you. How he wished that the father in front of him was the father who loved his mother. After the third young master's accident, she seemed to realize that she was going to disappear. Please don't hurt her. When I woke up, I saw Gu Ci was sad and pretended to be the third young master. Unexpectedly, it was a strange mistake and there was no chance to correct it. Lu Ziwen didn't know how to convince himself, but he was still trying to convince Gu Ziu. I didn't mean to act in a scene with her. I know, I guessed it, Gu Ziu said calmly. For me, it doesn't matter which father is, but my mother is different. If her father never comes back during the day, I will take her to see a doctor. On that premise, you have to make it clear to her. Since you have seen through it, you must have talked to Gu Ci. Didn't you expose it? I exposed it, but it doesn't work. Gu Ziu was extremely frustrated. You can rebuild her dream, or you can destroy her dream. My mother, her happiness, anger, sorrow, and happiness depend on you alone. Although Ziyu was unhappy, unwilling, and jealous, he had to admit that in his mother's heart, his father had always been the most important. I know, Lu Ziwen suppressed the pain in his heart. I will solve it as soon as possible. Actually, Lu Ziwen also planned a showdown with Gu Ci if Gu Ziu didn't come to him. He could no longer bear Gu Ci's eyes falling on him and was looking for the shadow of another person. She pays attention to the third young master and likes the third young master. He is acting, he is just a substitute. This feeling is very bad and frustrating. He has wanted to confess several times, but there has never been a suitable time. Do you really not like mom at all? Gu Ziu asked. My lord will take care of the matter, so don't worry about it, Lu Ziwen said softly, interrupting his son's inquiry. Gu Ziu snorted coldly. A bunch of stupid adults, whether they are father, mother, or Ji Sun, they are all crazy. This family cannot live without me. Then please hurry up and I will contact a good doctor, Gu Ziu said, irritating her mother and letting her know the truth. He hoped that she would wake up. As long as she is willing to see a doctor, everything will turn around. This life is much better than the last one. Mom is not crazy yet, there is still hope. Dad. One is dead, but one is still alive. As soon as Guzio left Universal, Lu Ziwen received a report from Rong Li, and Black Eagle's people also withdrew and did not participate in this internal fight among the extreme. However, Ji Sun had no news and followed Zhang Junlin. If Ji Sun lets Zhang Junlin out, he will become a target of the Yakuza. Now two groups of Yakuza are trying to kill you to death in Paris. Ji Sun is involved. If Zhang Junlin loses, he will also die. We really don't you care about him. How to care? Lu Ziwen had just heard Guzio's story and felt heavy. Ji Sun was in a mess again. Ji Sun is determined to live and die with Zhang Junlin. Does everyone in Black Eagle want to? Do you want to take risks with him? We will stay out of this dispute and reap the benefits. It is his own choice. There is no need to ask for instructions on this matter. Rong Li and Ji Sun were brothers and were very concerned about his affairs. After getting Lu Ziwen's definite answer, Rong Li finally gave up. Okay, I understand. Lu Ziwen frowned and said, I have some personal matters to deal with recently. You will handle Black Eagle's affairs. If you have any problems, please contact Li Zhang. Third Master, do you have anything to do? Recuperate. Okay, Rong Li was confused. If he was recovering from his injuries, there was no need to lose contact. It sounded like he had lost contact. In these troubled times, Ji Sun kept Zhang Junlin in custody, which did not affect his handling of internal affairs and was orderly. But he left with Zhang Junlin, and Rong Li wanted to share his responsibilities. Now he has to take care of everything. Fortunately, Rong Li has always been the Third Master's substitute, and he will not be in a hurry to take charge of the Black Eagle on the Third Master's behalf. Gu Si looked at the list, called Qin Wan over, and told him what happened in Paris. Qin Wan frowned. There was a traitor in the dark network of the Ji-Dao, who wanted Zhang Junlin's life. This was the first time. Perhaps it's not the first time, Gu Si said. My brother was assassinated in Haikan once, but nothing happened, and the murderer was never found. He is the president of Wallen Bank, and he will not have grudges with others in the business field. People will have grudges with the bank boss. At that time, I didn't know that he was hiding his identity. I simply thought that he was doing business and had grudges. What if he was a group of people? This matter has been dropped. I checked, but there is indeed no information at all. Qin Wan said, it was very clean and tidy. I was mentally prepared for the second assassination, but I couldn't find any information. I didn't expect it. Ji Xian, assassinated twice, is not a group of people. If it's someone from within, who would it be? Gu Si asked, do you have any suspicion? You are more familiar with the relationship between the Yakuza dark network than I am. Qin Wan thought for a moment and shook his head, I don't know who else is above the master. We couldn't have done this. We all know the rules of the extreme, so it should be. Qin Wan pointed to his head, it's probably them who want to change the master, but the rule of the Ji-Da is that you can't leave until you die. The master can only be replaced if he dies, otherwise he will always be in charge of the Ji-Da. Think about it, he officially took over the throne at the age of 18, and has been sitting in this position for the next 10 years. Gu Si, I want to go to Europe. What do you want to do when you go to Europe? Gu Si asked. Qin Wan chuckled and said, whoever kills the master, I will kill. I don't care who he is. If he blocks my way, he must die. If the master is inconvenient to do, I will do it. Her attitude was arrogant and revealed a bit of evil, not at all like a little white flower. The contrast is huge. Do you know who is in charge of Europe today? Dr. North, a visiting professor at your medical school, Qin Wan said with a very calm tone. Gu Si could tell by looking at her expression that Qin Wan didn't know that she was Dr. North's daughter. Sending her to Europe will definitely tell Dr. North the truth. End of this chapter.